It's utterly impossible for me to build my life on a foundation of chaos, suffering, and death. I see the world being slowly transformed into a wilderness. I hear the approaching thunder that one day will destroy us too. I feel the suffering of millions. And yet, when I look up at the sky, I somehow feel that everything will change for the better. That this cruelty too will end. That peace and tranquility will return once more. In the meantime, I must hold on to my ideals. Perhaps the day will come when I'll be able to realize them. Anne Frank. Hello. Today I'm going to be talking about The Diary of a Young Girl by Anne Frank. I'm going to start off with a story, actually. Once, when I was a teenager, I compiled a list of great writers I knew at the time. I read it to a classmate who wanted to tell me which of the authors he liked. You know, most were Common Core classics. Dead white males. Yeah, I did not know much about cultural diversity or enrichment at the time. There was one exception, though, that didn't match all the rest. I said, Anne Frank? And he said, can she even be considered a real writer? Immediately I responded, she wrote one of the most important documents in World War II. Nothing more was said on the subject. I'm not sure if I changed his mind. Either way, I think we are actually both missing the point of her diary. So don't get me wrong, it is an important document of World War II, but I'm not going to get into that today. I want to talk about her diary as a work of art from, yes, a real writer. For those of you who've never read the diary, just a quick summary. Anneliese Maria Frank was a Jewish girl who lived most of her life in Amsterdam. The book she wrote starts on her 13th birthday, when the diary is given to her as a gift by her father. It continues into the summer of her 15th. In the course of those 2 years, she and 7 other people hide in an annex in Holland during the Holocaust. By the way, her diary is not Anne writing to herself, but to an imaginary friend named Kitty. And I really admire this choice of hers. One, it gave her comfort to have a true friend who could know her in a way that not even her nearest and dearest could. And two, for readers, we actually become Kitty. She's talking to us. We are her confidant of the soul. So, the entries of this girl are anxious and detailed of everyday life when she is considered illegally alive. I can't imagine that on my own. It's her gift of words and her hard work with them that gives readers such clarity and honesty. Through Anne, I sense hope and horror. Now, I'm a teacher, and every year I read Anne Frank's words to my students. Even though the diary was composed many years ago, way before we were born, they end up reading her like it's now. I think because Anne is always being herself. That's something they long to be, and she does it very bravely. I like her criticism of her own words as well as the world around her. I'm careful about her intense judgment of the other people in the annex, but still, I admire that she's no lamb, no hypocrite. Many kids and teenagers are constantly criticized no matter what they do, and it's hard being that age. You're constantly not allowed to answer back. She does answer back. She gives readers like her a voice, and more, I think. She gives them a friend. Anyone growing up can relate to her. or be taught to feel their most intense emotions, especially her spirituality, her sexuality. Each year I teach this story, I see new generations bond with her words. I love being a teacher. I feel all my students are wild and wonderful. I try, though, to teach them awareness and acceptance of people who are different from them. And yet I also have to teach them about the evil that comes from a lack of compassion. So when my students and I study the destruction and survival of millions, we tear through Anne's pages, actually give them diaries of their own. The students keep writing in them, and as they do, they share all kinds of ways with Anne. It's like being thoughtful about God and humanity, enraged with boredom and hatred, a love of the self and nature, and things I'm sure they'd never tell anyone beyond their own diaries. For any young person reading Anne's work of art, these are things they didn't know were possible before they meet her. Even though I'm an adult now, I find myself looking up to Anne more and more as I get older. I wish I had read her diary as a teenager. When I responded to that friend of mine, I knew her importance, but I didn't know her words. I remember my own circumstances at that age, nothing compared to hers, but still not easy. I could have used a friend like her. I know there are a lot of youth out there who know danger, and it breaks my heart. Anne's piece of art, creative writing, historical document, whatever you want to call it, whenever you read it, it gives you power, especially as a young reader. When my kids imagine the bombs falling or the bad guys coming, they shine through tears and pain that is not far enough away. And yet, they carry on their life just like Anne did. They try to make things better, not when they're adults right now. And as Anne would write, how wonderful it is that nobody need wait a single moment before starting to improve the world. I believe Anne is a true artist. Her diary started out private, but over time she wanted to publish it. She wanted to be a real writer. My students and I would consider her one. I hope when you read the diary or you share it with someone, I hope you will too. Thank you. Thanks for listening, everyone. Let me know your experiences with Anne's diary in the comments. If you like what you saw, please subscribe and recommend what children or young adults book you'd like me to do next. Thank you.